We're behind 6.
I'm going to call the Board of Education regular meeting to order. We're going to start with the flag salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adam.
Please pray with me. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to gather this evening and help the kids in our district. We pray for each of the students in our community tonight and this week, that they each have warm beds and meals in the midst of this cold. Be with each of our board members and leaders as they make decisions tonight that advance our district forward. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Newsom.
Here.
Mr. Riley.
Here.
Mrs. Rowland. Present. Mrs. Troop.
Present.
Mrs. Zimmershed. Here.
Okay. Number 2 is presentation and
Sorry, this is you? I'm taking it. Here.
No, you're good. You're good. I've only done this once or twice.
Okay.
Congratulations, Ms. Higgins.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
Okay. Support Employee of the Month is John Diaz, a computer technician.
At West
And
Middlesboro.
So I share
Oh,
John
West
Diaz
Middlesboro.
with Lincoln Elementary. He's the tech guy at West. And I just wanted to say that when we went one-to-one during COVID, John did an amazing job with helping us get our Chromebooks ready. But it was actually nominated by 2 different people. And so when I was trying to mesh everything together, it was, I think it came out nicely, but we'll see. All right. So I'll read what they said. John Diaz has been nominated as the November Support Employee of the Month in Ponca City Public Schools. John goes above and beyond to make sure everything is set up for the school year to run smoothly. He has put policies and procedures in place for parents, students, and teachers to ensure that Chromebooks are taken care of and students are held accountable. John builds relationships with the students at West. He comes up with handshakes with students, and they go out of their way to say hello to him. With technology playing a large role in education, John does an outstanding job at helping teachers and students do their jobs.
Congratulations.
So important for tech to work.
Okay.
Does a great job.
Friend of Education is Taryn Lyles, supporter of the Ponca City Public Schools.
I get to read this one.
Okay.
What are you going to say about him?
Ad lib.
Try to make it nice. Try to make it nice.
We can get it for you. Okay, so this is serious, I'm not winging it. Ponca City Public Schools is honored to recognize Taryn Lyles as a friend of education at Ponca City Public Schools. As the director of the City Arts nonprofit, he's taken our local art scene to an entirely new level. His passion for the arts has not stopped in his own nonprofit world, as he's actively taken the charge to help incorporate new opportunities for our own staff and students. In the past 12 months, and this is incredible, he's awarded donations to every art teacher in the district, brought in new programs in our secondary areas, and has plans for immersive art exhibits in the future for our students to participate with. Terrence's passion for the arts has had a direct impact on the students of Ponca City Public Schools. He embodies the qualities of a friend of education, and we take great pleasure in recognizing his efforts. We also wish to thank him on behalf of our school district and our students for the impact he is making in our community. So thank you, Terrence, and he credits everything he is today to Adam.
Thank you, Karen. We appreciate you. Picture, Judy.
And we need the 3 award winners to go out in the hall, and we'll take your picture.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for your service. We appreciate all you do.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Taryn, for all your time. Okay. Public comments. Do we have any public comments?
We lost our clerk.
No.
I don't think we do. Brenda said we didn't.
Sure we don't.
I thought I had to read this.
I don't see anything.
No.
Okay, all right, we're going to go on then. Superintendent's report with potential board discussion. Spring 2022 ACT test scores.
Hey, Adam, can you get that light and pull the door to for us? Okay, we do have our ACT achievement of our graduates of 2022. And first of all, I'm going to give you a district and a state comparison. This is for last school year, 21-22, and these are Ponca City scores across the top and the state scores across the bottom. I'm not going to read all those to you. You can tell that we fell just below the state by 1/10 of a point in English. So growth in every area for us. The next slide is going to show you 5-year trends of growth just for Ponca City. And let's go back and look at 2016, 2017. At this time, this is when the ACT was just given to college-bound students. It was not the state test. And you can see our scores were pretty high, right across the top. We outperformed the state in every single area: English, math, reading, science, and the composite. Then in 2017, 2018, in April of 2018, it became the state test. So it was given to all juniors, and we definitely dropped every student. 95% of our juniors were tested, and we dropped all the way across the board. The next year, in the spring of 2019, you can see that we grew from our last year's score in every single area. Then we went into full closure in March of 2020, and obviously the testing window had not occurred, so there was no testing in the spring of 2020 due to the statewide pandemic. Okay, so we were out of school for a quarter, and then in 2021, it was hit and miss. We had kids in and out of isolation, in and out of quarantine, lots of absences, and obviously we dropped all the way across. Then this year, which I'm pleased to say, based on our own growth, we increased in every area. And if you'll notice, I circled the English scores from 21 to 22. Even though we fell below the state in English, we increased our score from the spring of 21. Now, I also, this is the same data, all except I'm showing the state 5-year trends. State was pretty much with us in 2017 was their 2016-2017 highest scores, and then when all juniors took the test, obviously everything fell. Then from 18 to 19, some things went down, some things went up, some things remained even. Those are highlighted in yellow. No testing due to the statewide pandemic, and then everything dropped across the state. English went up in 2022 at the state level. So that just gives you a comparison of the trends. What I thought was really interesting, we were green all the way across the board, red all the way across the board, but we showed improvement every time that we dropped. So I think that's a plus. I wanted to share the action steps for growth at High. This is for all of our grade levels. Our ELA and our math PLCs began meeting weekly in November of 2021, which was last year. During the thrust of the pandemic, they were meeting once a month. So they began meeting weekly, and they created benchmark assessments that are aligned to our essential standards of the OAS, which is the Oklahoma Academic Standards. And these benchmarks are administered in classes each 6 weeks. Data is used to adapt, modify, remediate, enrich. So just to let you know what we're doing now. We also do IXL, quarterly benchmarks. It's a snapshot, we call it, in ELA and math, and we cross-reference those with our benchmark assessments of the AC and pre-ACT to determine areas to adapt, modify, and focus. And as you know, Reading Plus is required at High for all students in ELA classes. This is 9 through 12. Then we also do IXL practice, which is aligned to the Oklahoma Academic Standards and the ACT standards in ELA and math. And this, we have some growth that we're doing right now for specific grade levels. For freshmen, in advisory, we do advisory for each grade level. We begin those discussions and training of students to understand the credits, the courses, and transcripts, and what they need to do, and we really focus on their ICAP in 9th grade. In 10th grade, we administer the pre-ACT to all sophomores in the fall. And that data is provided to the ELA and math teachers and individual students in January. So that's upcoming. Then we use that data to drive our instruction for individual students and class strategies to address academic gaps.
That, are they taking that test yet?
Yes.
They're taking it now? Or
They took it within the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
So that we will score those and have that data in January. In 11th grade, we adopted new curriculum, and you all approved it several months back on the consent agenda, and it's called Daily Grammar Practice. And it's utilized in all our ELA classes, and it's focused on intensive grammar instruction. So what our ACT data told us when we broke that down, that we were falling short in the area of grammar. So that happens in all junior classes during ELA. So if you'll remember, English was the one area that we fell below the state in 1/10 of a point. So our data showed that the area that was a problem for us was grammar, so we're really focusing on that as juniors. We also give a retired practice ACT to all juniors, and those were given week before last. Results are shared with teachers and students, and it's already occurred. We score and provide the data to our students and teachers. And then data from the retired ACT, the practice ACTs, are utilized in all classes during boot camp. And we have junior boot camp that begins the week following spring break, and it will continue up until the testing window. So it just depends on when April 10th falls. Our testing is always after April 10th. So sometimes the boot camp is 3 weeks, and sometimes the boot camp is 4 weeks. So that will occur again this year. We will hold the Chad Cargill ACT workshop for interested juniors again this year on February 7th, 2023. We did this last year, and we got a really huge response from our students that said it was very beneficial to them. Chad Cargill is renowned in the ACT world. He's spoken to over 200,000 students, and he has a test prep book called Chad Cargill's ACT, and he is actually out of Choctaw, Oklahoma. So he holds workshops all over the state. We are going to have that workshop during the school day, so there are no barriers for students attending. They have activities in the evening, so it will be during the school day. There is a cost of $35, but we are going to have scholarships available to any student who wants to attend. And then the ACT is administered to all juniors in April. So we also have some action steps for growth that we're working on as seniors. Our seniors may retake the ACT to improve their scores, and they are also welcome to attend the Chad Cargill ACT workshop. Things that we work on with seniors, they prepare for their college and career readiness standards in reading, math, and government classes, and they also receive support with post-secondary planning. Now, we also have some plans. We have a testing committee together that we're working on for continued future growth. Now, this year, in the fall of 2020, this school year, our science and history Oklahoma State Testing Program, PLCs, began meeting weekly. They are in the process of creating these weekly benchmarks, or these benchmarks to provide to students every 6 weeks that ELA and math had already done. And these benchmarks are aligned to OAS essential standards. So I believe Zach's in here. So when are you going to start?
I don't know about history, science, we already started, so we didn't hit that first 6-week benchmark. It's a shortened semester, the 5-week. We did for the second 5 weeks, and then we'll do one shortly before finals. So we've already started.
Perfect.
We found out on that first one that one of the standards we had in that unit, the kids struggled in, and we think it's because it focuses on content that we don't cover till second semester. So we're going to retest it next semester and see if that improves based on what we've taught by
And
then.
that's the purpose of the formative assessment and our PLCs, to readjust and realign if needed. So it looks like science is well on their way, and ELA and math are making lots of progress. We also are developing a calendar of benchmark assessments so that everybody knows what page we're on, what assessment's going to be given, when it will be administered, as well as collection and data collection and curriculum instructional adaptations. So some future continued growth that we hope to see next year. We would like to give the pre-AC to freshmen and maybe develop a partnership with our community businesses and mental health groups, and maybe Pioneer Technology Center to take freshmen to a location where they can test in small groups, and also maybe rotate into classes that provide training on high school life and how to be successful in life that are developmentally appropriate for those students who are coming from the middle school to the high school. In 10th grade, we would like to go ahead and have them stay on campus and take the pre-ACT, which is purchased by the Oklahoma State Regents. In 11th grade, one thing that we would like to do, as I mentioned earlier, we are using retired practice ACTs. We would like to stay on campus and maybe administer a real ACT in the fall, but that would need to be purchased. We're still talking about funding sources. They're about $60 a student, and we have 320 students, seniors or juniors this year. In 12th grade, this is something that I've been wanting to do for several years, but we're going to develop an adulting day, maybe off campus, and partner with our businesses, mental health, parents, and just practice life skills, banking, insurance, how to change a tire, buying a car, and just basic housing skills, who to call when your hot water heater goes out, that kind of thing. So there's where we are with ACT. Those are our scores, and those are our plans to continue to grow and improve. Any questions there?
I may have missed it, but do you have a comparison of our ACT results versus the state's for the last 5 years?
Uh-huh.
You missed it.
We can go back to that.
Because it looked to me like what I saw, we didn't do very good post-COVID.
We did not. Okay, so both, these are the same charts, so it doesn't matter which one we go to. I've just highlighted the Ponca City trends. If you look just to the right of the highlighted cell, you can see the state score. We were below the state in English just after the statewide pandemic. We were above the state in math. We were tied with the state in reading, and we were above in science and 1/10 below for the composite or overall score. So
did we not fare as well during the pandemic?
Well, nobody fared as well. We did in some areas, and we outperformed in some areas, and we underperformed in others. But this year, this was our first slide.
No, the
for
first
this
year after was my first concern.
It'd be right under the
Circle.
blue band in the
Right.
middle. You can see our score in English was 16.1, state 16.7. Math 17.6, state 17.2. So we were above the state there. Tied with the state in reading at 18.3,
The composite, we were below.
1/10 of a point, yes.
Lily, what year did,
And we were, other than 2016 and 17, we were below the state for 1, 2, 3 years in a row. Right? On the composite.
You're looking just at the composite, yes.
Couldn't speak real well for us.
Lily, what year did Oklahoma academic standards get started? I don't remember.
Oh, Anna, I could not tell you off the top of my head, I'm so sorry.
I'm just curious, so is the,
Terry, do you know that, what year was it Oklahoma academic standards were adopted from pass? It's been a while.
right, is the ACT aligned with the Oklahoma academic or vice versa?
The college and career readiness
Every
standards are
year they
aligned to
update
ACT.
At least one core subject. It doesn't always mean that they change a lot. Sometimes it's just tweaking of the words. And sometimes they add some new ones. For example, there's new math ones that have just come out, K-12. But the Oklahoma academic standards have been out a while, but like I said, every year
They can
they'll
modify.
update a core subject.
So what I'm hearing you say with the PLCs, I'm just remembering us doing that with the PASS or the Oklahoma academic standards for the elementary. So you're saying this is going to be done now with the data, almost kind of like they're doing it again,
Exactly.
but also with all this other data that you're getting from
With
these
IXL,
IXL and all
ACT.
these other Reading Plus and all the things. That's really cool.
And that does make it sort of difficult with our CFAs and our scales and things like that, because when they do update the standards, and we have to update our CFAs, we have to go back and look at our scales and make sure that they're updated. And it just depends on the subject of how deep it goes. ELA, there were a lot of changes. That was last year, but this year it's math. And then the year before that, it was science, but they said they updated them, but they really didn't. It was all just those next generation standards. And they haven't changed.
Yeah.
They didn't change at all. They said they were updated, but it's just on a different form.
I see.
They were exactly the same.
So.
But you have to check the wording really carefully.
Right, yeah. Well, appreciate all the teachers putting in that extra work, weekly meetings and doing all that's really a lot of work.
They really have done a lot. And elementary maintained their weekly PLCs during the pandemic, but when you have an entire department
Yeah.
and people are out quite a bit, it makes it kind of difficult. And they had gone to monthly, and it was time to go back to weekly last year, which they did. So we've had continued growth every single year after everyone began taking the state test and after the pandemic, and we expect continued growth.
That's great.
Okay, I already shared this information. So any other questions about ACT data?
I also really like the idea of the adulting days and getting out there and blending with the community and trying to, figure those things out too, because if we're offering the ACT to all of our students, that might open it up to other ideas or things that they have. That's a really good idea.
We do have some recovery to do after the pandemic, and we're making plans. Now, one thing that I do want to tell you is we need an updated safe return plan, and we used to call this the return to learn plan, but we have return to learn. And the reason we need an updated one is because the federal programs is requiring that. We were told over and over we did not need to update, but then we got word just last week, I believe, that we do need an updated plan to file claims for our ESSER forms. And it's going to look very different than our other plan. I have just thrown some things out here for consideration. I've got learning options, and I'm not going to read those to you, but it talks about our full-time in-person learning. It talks about our full-time virtual learning for K through 12, what our capacity is in K through 8 and 9 through 12. We have 2 full-time teachers. Actually, we have 3 teachers. One's a 0.4 and one's 0.6, but 2 full-time equivalent teachers at K through 12, and that's our capacity limit. Right now, we are at 92 students, so we've got room for some more virtual students. Now, I did add this bullet: in the event of a health issue or related staffing shortages, the district or a site may transition to distance learning. We have not been in a position where we have had enough staff out that we could not maintain the building due to COVID. Our numbers are really minimal, and I'm super happy not to be tracking that data. As far as transportation goes, our route and activity buses will run as normal during times of in-person learning, and right now there are currently no restrictions on buses. As far as athletics and activities, we are going to say that if we put guidelines into place, activities will adhere by these guidelines. We don't have any guidelines in place right now because we don't need them. We're in full out athletic activities. We do concerts, both vocal and instrumental concerts. We also have no restrictions on our use of facilities programs that are coming into our classes, into our facilities. As far as parents and visitors, our sites are doing an amazing job. It's been a goal to get our parents and visitors back in our sites. They're hosting reading nights, they're hosting bingo nights, they're hosting Veterans Day assemblies. So it's our goal to have as many visitors as we can to bridge that gap. It was hard on our visitors not coming in, and there are currently no restrictions. As far as meals, parties, and banquets, we had restrictions on everything last year. So our students are eating breakfast and lunch as normal. We're having student and staff parties as normal and banquets as normal. There are currently no restrictions. Some other things that I talk about have to do more with COVID. Masks are welcome for students, employees, and visitors on our property, but they are certainly not required. And if you will remember, Senate Bill 658 was in effect in July 1 of 2021, and it restricts the mandatory enforcement of wearing masks unless an emergency is declared by the governor, consultation with the health department, or school board consideration. We still have a lot of students and teachers who wear masks. I see them every day when I'm at sites. As far as vaccination, Senate Bill 658 restricts schools from requiring COVID-19 vaccines, and we wouldn't do that anyway, but there's a bill out there that says we don't. However, our state and local health departments and the CDC recommends boosters and vaccinations and boosters for those eligible. As far as quarantine and isolations, students and employees who test positive will be required to isolate for 9 days. That's 5 days. That's following the CDC guidelines. And then there are no longer close contact quarantines required per CDC guidelines. As far as monitoring for symptoms, we encourage student and staff to stay home and test if experiencing symptoms of COVID-19. We encourage our parents to inform the sites. We don't track that data anymore. We have access to Google Docs where we can see how many are out. And then if our employees are out, they need to contact Jennifer Dye. The strategy that we are using to reduce exposure, we are not distancing in classrooms, but we are reminding our students to wash hands with soap and water prior to eating, and especially after sneezing or coughing. So those are the only recommendations, but we do have to have a return to learn plan, but we're not calling it. We're calling it a safe return plan per federal guidelines. And it must be board approved, and it is an action item, the next action item on the agenda. Any questions there or anything that you think we need to add or remove? Very basic, just what we've been doing.
Covers it all. Okay.
Shelley, Oklahoma academic standards were adopted in 2016.
Yeah, I knew it was like, whatever.
Yeah, it's prior to me becoming superintendent, I just couldn't remember when.
That's the year I left Ponca.
Okay. Number 5, consideration and take action on the proposed safety return plan as discussed during the superintendent's report. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Are there any other questions about that? Okay, call for the vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye. Number 6, consent agenda. Motion required for the approval of the consent agenda as printed or as amended. Board members may, however, call for a separate vote of any or all items listed on the consent agenda. Okay.
I'm going
This-
to move we approve this consent agenda.
Okay.
Notes.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, call for the vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Right. Number 7, action items, motion required. Consideration to take action on the following district financial reports description.
We had a good
No,
meeting
okay.
at that, Robin straightened us out on a few things.
Did he?
He tried to.
Yeah.
We kept him going, but I make a move we approve
Okay.
that item.
Robin, do you want to mention any certain item?
Second.
Okay. Guess not. Okay, call for the vote.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye. All right, consent agenda is approved, or the, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Number 2, consideration take action on setting the date, time, and location for the 2023 regular board meetings. Shelley, would you like to
Okay, so
comment?
pursuant to state law, we have to notify the court clerk of our regular board meetings prior to December 15th of every year. We typically have our board meetings on the second Monday of each month. There are 2 exceptions for 2023, and that will be that the March meeting will be held on the first Monday due to spring break. And then our July meeting will be held on the third Monday due to the 4th of July holiday. It makes it hard for us to get our contracts, and if you'll remember, in July, we have all the new contracts for the fiscal year, so that is a big meeting, and it takes lots of prep time.
I have a request. Make sure you send out to all of us our committee meetings, the
Okay.
changes in the dates, because every time I have it, mine's all,
Okay?
when you move those days, it changes all those.
Yeah.
Sometimes you guys move them again, but try to get us the
I'll do a whole
exact.
list for the year.
If you would, that'd be great, so I can get it on our calendars.
Okay, do we vote on that now?
Move for approval.
I'll second.
Don approved and Anna seconded.
Okay, also, that will also impact those 2 months for the committee meetings.
Yeah, that's what I told him.
That's the ones I was
I'll
talking
get the
about.
list
Yeah,
of
those
the
need to be on the list too,
Those
or
out, yeah.
we'll have those down wrong, Don.
We'll be all messed up.
Okay. It's been, Don made the motion and Nancy seconded it.
Yes, ma'am.
So call for the vote.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Okay, number 3, consideration and take action on the following contract agreements. Number 1 is contract with Clark Contracting Company LLC to demolish the property at 601 East Brookfield. Adam, would you like to comment about this?
This is just the garage apartment on Brookfield that we acquired several months back.
Okay.
And, we are ready, Clark Contracting was the lowest bid out of all the bidders we got. So I
Okay.
recommend approval.
If approved tonight, that is scheduled to take place tomorrow, correct?
It'll be, I don't know if the weather impacted it
Okay.
yet.
Okay. Now, did we vote on these separately?
No.
I can't- No, no, we vote on them together, right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, B, contract with Stolehan Wells to repair storm drains. And Adam, would you like to comment on that one for $29,855?
Go down into the ground around east. Several of them have collapsed, 8 of them underneath the ground around east. There'll be large-scale excavation to excavate and repair those. Every time it has significant rainfall, knock on, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to say knock on wood that we haven't had that because I've never seen people that suffer, but it does cause issues in the foundation of the basement of the east, and then that backs into the tunnel in this building. So just, we got to repair it and fix it. So this was the lowest of the bids we received.
Yeah, because that tunnel's our storm shelter, isn't it?
Yeah, it serves as a
Okay.
storm shelter, and it's a sanitary issue, and
Okay.
Was that the low bid?
Way
yes.
by about 50,000.
About $50,000 some dollars is low bid,
Okay.
so.
Okay. Okay, so we vote for those
They're just
two.
tying back into the existing drain once they get past the collapsed
Yeah,
area.
Yeah, but there'll be large-scale excavation happening around the east.
Yeah.
Have we already, did we do both of them?
Uh-huh.
We haven't done B.
That's what we did.
Yes, that was the storm,
When is that,
storm
Adam?
drains.
Okay.
We'll
I mean, did we
Okay,
make a motion
okay.
for B?
No, I make a motion, sorry.
Okay.
So
I'll second.
Okay. All right, call for the vote.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Okay, number 4, consideration take action on the following change orders. A, change order from Rick Scott Construction for $14,856 to replace paneling on the West Voe Ag Barn project. Adam, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, when we removed the interior walls and the pins on the exterior of the building, we noticed there were several rusted areas in the existing tin along the barn on the north and south walls. We were presented a few options from Rick Scott Construction on how to remediate it. This whole project's to weatherproof the barn and insulate it and put heat in it, and doesn't really make sense if our exterior walls have holes in it. So the option, unfortunately, is $14,856 to repair it. And I would recommend approval from the board on this.
Okay, do I have a motion for
I
that?
make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Nancy made the motion and Anna seconded it. Call for the vote.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda is motion and vote to convene an executive session for the following purposes: to discuss the possible termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel on the attached detailed personnel report, to discuss the employment of executive directors and directors, to discuss negotiations, and to discuss confidential conversations with the board's attorney concerning pending claims and litigation. Do I have a motion for executive session?
So moved.
And I'll second.
Okay, Don made the motion and Nancy seconded it. Call for the vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye.
We're on the executive session.
Dawn, you-
Gavel. We're going to return to open session. Number 7, recital by board president that minutes of executive session were kept by the board minutes clerk and will remain confidential. 8, consideration and take action on recommendations for termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel. We didn't, do we need to vote on that?
Yes.
Okay.
We
Yeah,
had
I
a
move it.
personnel report.
Okay,
I make a motion, we approve that.
Second.
okay.
Second by Robin.
Okay.
All right, call for the vote.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
And Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Okay. Any new business?
No.
No. Okay, so I'm going to call this, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.